It was a calm day on Earth, but deep in the hearts of the world's leaders, a storm was brewing. Earth had been watching the skies for months. The aliens were coming, and their intentions were clear: invasion. These alien forces had attacked neighboring planets, wiping out civilizations with terrifying ease. And now it was Earth's turn to face their wrath. The governments of Earth had tried everything. They sent countless messages to the aliens, warning them to stay away. But the aliens had only laughed at the warnings. They didn't take humanity seriously. After all, humans were just a small primitive species compared to the powerful alien forces. What could humans possibly do to stop them? The leaders of Earth met in secret, aware that they were running out of time. The alien ships were already on their way, traveling through space at an alarming speed. They would arrive in just a few days, and by then, it would be too late to stop them. But Earth's leaders weren't ready to give up without a fight. They knew they had to act, and fast. In a dark war room, surrounded by the world's top military officers and scientists, the decision was made. Earth would send a final, desperate message to the aliens. This was their last chance to make the aliens understand the consequences of their actions. The message was simple, but it carried a weight that could not be ignored. The message was broadcast across space, reaching the alien fleet as it advanced toward Earth. It was addressed directly to the alien commanders, the leaders of the invading force. "We warned you," the message said. "Leave Earth, or you will face the full might of humanity. Our war fleet is coming, and if you do not retreat, it will be too late to escape." The message ended, leaving a silence that seemed to stretch on forever. For a moment, no one knew what would happen next. Would the aliens listen? Would they turn back? Or would they continue their invasion? Far from taking the warning seriously, the alien commanders laughed. The leader of the alien forces, a towering figure named Zarak, stared at the message and shook his head in disbelief. "Humans think they can stop us." Zarak sneered. "They are nothing. Their technology is ancient. They are weak. We will crush them as we have crushed so many other worlds." Zarak's commanders agreed. They had seen the humans' feeble attempts at defense before, and it had always ended the same way: failure. The aliens had destroyed entire civilizations without breaking a sweat. Why would this be any different? Back on Earth, as the warning was ignored, the tension grew. Humanity knew that the aliens would not listen, but they couldn't back down now. They had to prepare for war. Every country on Earth began mobilizing their forces. In hidden military bases across the globe, humanity's last hope was being readied: the human war fleet. The fleet was a masterpiece of technology, a collection of ships unlike anything the universe had ever seen. Each ship was equipped with advanced weaponry, shields, and engines far beyond what any alien species had ever encountered. For decades, Earth had been working in secret, building this fleet in preparation for a day like this. A day when they would need to defend their planet from the alien threat. As the fleet prepared to launch, Earth's leaders knew that this would be humanity's greatest test. The aliens were coming, and they would not stop until Earth was theirs. But Earth's forces were ready. They would fight for their planet, their homes, and their families. They would not let the aliens take what was theirs. The countdown began. The fleet, 1,000 ships strong, lifted off from Earth's surface, heading into the vastness of space. Each ship was a symbol of human determination, and together, they formed a force unlike anything the aliens had ever imagined. Back in the alien fleet, Zarak and his commanders watched as Earth's ships took off. But they weren't worried. They had no fear. They believed that the humans were foolish to think they could stop them. The alien ships were already on their way, and Earth's defense was no match for their power. As the alien fleet neared Earth, Zarak smiled, confident that the humans would fall. But there was something he didn't know, something he hadn't counted on. The human fleet wasn't just a collection of ships. It was a symbol of humanity's strength, its resilience, and its unwillingness to be defeated. In the final moments before the battle, both sides knew it was too late to turn back. The aliens had ignored Earth's warnings, and now, the human war fleet was on its way. The fate of Earth and its people rested in the hands of the human forces. There was no more time for talk. The war was about to begin. The human war fleet was ready. For years, it had been a secret, a powerful force built in the shadows. As the alien invasion drew nearer, Earth's leaders had pushed all their resources into one goal: survival. They knew the aliens were coming, and they knew they had to fight with everything they had. It was no longer just a matter of defense. It was a matter of proving that humanity would not be easily defeated. On Earth, the war fleet had been assembled in hidden military bases across the globe. Each ship was a technological marvel, built with the latest advancements in weaponry, shields, and speed. But the real strength of the fleet wasn't in its technology alone. It was in the humans who piloted the ships, the soldiers and leaders who would take to the stars and protect their world at any cost. The fleet itself was massive, stretching across space like a chain of powerful, silent warriors. Every ship had a role to play. Some were designed for heavy combat, others for strategy and coordination, and some for stealth and intelligence gathering. They were all equipped with powerful engines capable of reaching the farthest corners of the galaxy, ready to strike when the time came. The heart of the fleet lay in its flagship, the Valor, a ship unlike any other. It was the pride of Earth's military forces, a symbol of the strength and determination of humanity. The Valor was a massive vessel, brimming with advanced technology. Its hull was nearly impervious to enemy fire, and its weapons were some of the most powerful ever created. It was the ship that would lead the charge, the one that would strike first when the alien forces arrived. As the fleet assembled, Earth's leaders gathered in a high-tech command center, anxiously watching the countdown. Every detail had been accounted for, every calculation made. The moment the alien fleet entered Earth's space, the human fleet would be ready to move. But there was a catch. Earth's forces didn't know exactly when the aliens would arrive. All they had was the knowledge that time was running out. The military leaders discussed their strategy. They knew the alien forces would be much larger, but they also knew that their fleet was faster, more agile, and most importantly, more determined. The aliens might have overwhelming firepower, but the human fleet had something else: unity. Every pilot, every soldier, and every commander in the fleet understood the stakes. They were fighting for their families, their friends, their homes, and they were ready to give everything to protect Earth. With the fleet now in position, the final preparations were made. The ships were loaded with supplies, weapons were double-checked, and the commanders reviewed their battle plans one last time. The atmosphere was tense, and there was a quiet determination in the air. Every person on Earth knew that this would be a defining moment in human history. As the countdown continued, the commanders gave their final orders. They weren't just preparing for a fight. They were preparing for a fight they couldn't afford to lose. The fate of the world rested on the shoulders of the fleet. If they failed, humanity would face an uncertain future. But if they succeeded, they would prove that humans were not to be underestimated. The human fleet moved into position, ready to face whatever the alien forces would throw at them. It was a waiting game now. The fleet's commanders watched the vast emptiness of space, knowing the alien fleet was out there, getting closer with every passing moment. Meanwhile, the alien fleet, massive and imposing, neared Earth's space. The alien commanders had little doubt that they would easily crush the humans. They had faced other species before and defeated them without struggle, but they hadn't faced a force like this. They hadn't faced humanity's will to survive, to protect their home at any cost. The human fleet was out there, waiting and watching. Earth's military leaders knew it was only a matter of time before the first shots were fired. And when that moment came, they would fight with everything they had. The countdown was ticking, and both fleets were ready for the battle that would decide the future of Earth. As the final seconds passed, the atmosphere in the command center was thick with anticipation. The fate of Earth and of humanity now lay in the hands of the brave men and women who would take to the stars. It was a battle that would test everything they had. But they were ready. Earth would not go down without a fight. The human war fleet was prepared to defend their world, and they would stop at nothing to protect it. The human war fleet moved into position with precision, each ship a symbol of humanity's determination. For days, the fleet had been silently waiting, its engines idling in the vastness of space. The commanders aboard the ships were focused, each one mentally preparing for what was to come. They knew that the moment the alien fleet appeared, there would be no turning back. It was a battle for survival. The silence in the fleet was almost overwhelming, broken only by the hum of the engines and the quiet conversations between the commanders. Every soldier, every pilot, every person aboard those ships had one goal: to protect Earth, their home. The weight of the mission hung heavily in the air, but there was also a sense of purpose, a quiet understanding that they were ready. They had been trained for this, prepared for this moment, and they would not fail. The alien fleet, meanwhile, was growing closer. In the distance, the first signs of movement appeared. The scouts aboard the human ships had been watching carefully, waiting for the telltale signs that the aliens were near. Their sensors began to pick up faint signals, and soon, the quiet of space was broken by the unmistakable hum of approaching ships. The aliens had arrived. The human commanders exchanged glances, their expressions grim but determined. They knew that the aliens had the advantage in terms of sheer numbers, but the human fleet had one thing the aliens didn't: the element of surprise. The aliens might be larger and more powerful, but they had underestimated humanity's ability to fight back. Now, it was time to show them what Earth was capable of. The battle strategy was clear. The human fleet would move quickly, using its agility and speed to outmaneuver the larger, slower alien ships. The goal wasn't to engage in direct combat right away, but to weaken the aliens' forces, create confusion, and disrupt their plans. The fleet would strike with precision, hitting the aliens where they were least prepared. The alien forces might have strength, but humanity had something they didn't: strategy. The human ships were divided into small, agile groups, each with a specific mission. Some would focus on intercepting alien ships before they could enter Earth's atmosphere. Others would target the alien communication systems, disabling their ability to coordinate. The fleet would work together, each ship playing a vital role in the overall strategy. It wasn't just about fighting, it was about fighting smart. As the human fleet began to move, the tension in the command center reached its peak. The alien fleet was now visible on the edge of human space, its massive ships slowly making their way toward Earth. The sheer size of the alien fleet was daunting. Hundreds of ships, each one equipped with powerful weapons and shields, were headed straight for Earth. But the human commanders remained calm. They had trained for this moment, and they had a plan. The first wave of alien ships entered range, and the human fleet began its coordinated attack. It was a precise strike, each ship moving in harmony with the others. The humans used their speed and agility to avoid the aliens' heavy fire, their ships darting in and out of range, launching quick, powerful strikes. The alien ships were slow to react, confused by the unexpected tactics. They had expected a straightforward battle, but they were now facing something far more dangerous: a fleet that was both fast and smart. The battle was intense, but the human fleet remained focused. Each ship worked in concert with the others, targeting key points on the alien vessels. Their weapons hit hard, disabling shields and systems, weakening the aliens' forces one ship at a time. The alien fleet, which had once seemed unstoppable, now found itself on the defensive. The humans were not just surviving, they were winning. Despite the alien forces' attempts to regroup, the human fleet maintained its momentum. Every move was calculated, every strike executed with precision. The alien commanders, who had once dismissed humanity as weak and unworthy, were now beginning to realize the full extent of their mistake. The humans were not the helpless species they had believed them to be. They were a force to be reckoned with. The first major victory for the human fleet came when a small group of alien ships, caught off guard by the humans' rapid movements, were disabled and forced to retreat. The human fleet didn't let up. They pressed forward, not giving the aliens a chance to recover. The alien forces were now in disarray, their confidence shaken. As the battle raged on, the human fleet's plan continued to unfold. The aliens, struggling to adapt to the humans' tactics, were forced to change their strategy. But it was clear that the humans had the upper hand. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for something more. For their planet, their people, and their future. And with each passing moment, the alien forces grew weaker. In the quiet moments between the clashes, the commanders aboard the human ships exchanged nods of approval. Their strategy was working. The humans had surprised the aliens, disrupted their plans, and were now taking control of the battle. It was far from over, but for the first time, Earth's leaders allowed themselves a moment of hope. The human fleet was proving that it could stand against even the most powerful invaders. And with every passing minute, the aliens were learning that underestimating humanity was a mistake they would never make again. The human fleet pressed on with determination. Though they had achieved a promising start, the war was far from over. The alien forces, shaken but not defeated, regrouped and recalibrated. They had underestimated humanity's resilience, but now they were learning quickly. The alien commanders, recognizing the unexpected strategies used by the human fleet, began to adjust their own tactics. It was no longer just about numbers or strength. The aliens now had to face a more formidable opponent than they had ever imagined. The human commanders, aware that the initial advantage could quickly slip away, made sure the fleet stayed focused. There was no room for error. Every ship, every pilot, every commander knew that each move had to be calculated. This was the moment that would decide the future of Earth. The alien fleet had the power, but the humans had something far stronger. A drive to protect their home, their families, and their future. As the battle continued, the human ships used the vastness of space to their advantage. They remained scattered and agile, darting between asteroids and debris, making it harder for the larger alien ships to lock onto them. The human fleet's tactics had shifted from direct confrontation to a more guerrilla-style approach, forcing the aliens into a game of cat and mouse. Each time the aliens thought they had gained ground, the human fleet would slip away and strike from an unexpected direction. The aliens, despite their superior firepower, were finding themselves at a disadvantage. They had relied on their size and strength to intimidate, but humanity had shown that they could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast. Meanwhile, on Earth, the situation was tense. Governments and civilians alike were glued to their screens, watching the battle unfold in real time. The war had become a global spectacle, a fight for survival that united the planet like never before. People everywhere held their breath, hoping that humanity's fleet could keep pushing forward. It was a moment that transcended borders, a reminder that Earth, despite its many divisions, was one world in the face of a common enemy. Back in space, the alien fleet was beginning to show signs of strain. The constant harrying by the human fleet had taken its toll. Ships were damaged, resources were running low, and morale among the alien commanders started to falter. The aliens were used to quick victories, but this battle was unlike anything they had ever encountered. They had assumed that Earth would fall easily, but now they found themselves struggling against an enemy that refused to give up. In response, the alien commanders called for reinforcements, bringing in additional ships from the outskirts of the galaxy. This was a move they had hoped to avoid, but they were now desperate to regain control. The arrival of these reinforcements was a clear sign that the battle had reached a critical point. Earth's war fleet, though exhausted, stood ready to face whatever the aliens threw at them. They had been through countless drills, simulations, and tests, but this real-world battle would test them more than any training ever could. The human fleet's flagship, Valor, led the charge as they faced the fresh wave of alien reinforcements. Commander Jensen, a seasoned veteran of many conflicts, stood at the helm, his eyes scanning the vast expanse of space. He knew that this moment could determine everything. The battle wasn't just about winning or losing. It was about proving to the aliens that humanity would not be easily defeated, no matter how overwhelming the odds. His resolve was unshakable, and he knew that the fate of Earth rested on the next series of moves. While the reinforcements gave the aliens a temporary boost, the human fleet wasn't about to back down. The commanders on Earth's ships quickly adjusted their strategies, utilizing new formations to counter the reinforcements. The fleet divided into smaller groups, with some ships focusing on hit-and-run tactics, while others worked to intercept alien communications and supply lines. The aliens, already stretched thin, struggled to keep up with the humans' relentless pace. There were moments of intense confrontation, flashes of energy as weapons fired, and ships twisted and turned through the void. The human fleet, while smaller, was agile and highly coordinated. It was a dance of destruction, with the aliens struggling to match the humans' pace. Despite the increasing pressure, the human fleet never faltered. Every ship, from the smallest scout vessel to the largest warship, played its part in the grand strategy. On Earth, the battle raged on in the hearts of every person who was watching. People had come together in ways they never had before. Families huddled around televisions, communities gathered to watch the live streams of the battle, and governments coordinated behind the scenes to ensure that the human fleet had everything it needed to succeed. This was more than just a war for survival. It was a fight for the very future of humanity. Back in space, Commander Jensen gave the order. It was time for the human fleet to make its final move. The reinforcements had been pushed back, and the alien fleet was beginning to lose its cohesion. It was now or never. The human ships formed a tight, coordinated line, each ship's weapon systems charged and ready. The moment had arrived for humanity to make a bold stand, to show the aliens that their invasion would not succeed. The human fleet surged forward, moving as one with a single purpose. The alien forces, now spread thin and disorganized, struggled to respond. The humans had taken them by surprise once again, and this time, there was no room for the aliens to retreat. The fate of Earth rested in the hands of its people, and they were ready to make the final push. With each passing moment, the human fleet drew closer to victory. The aliens, once confident in their overwhelming strength, were now facing the consequences of underestimating humanity. Earth's fleet had proven that, despite the odds, the human spirit could not be crushed. The battle for Earth was far from over, but for the first time, the human fleet had the upper hand. The battle had reached a critical turning point. The human fleet, despite facing overwhelming odds and a vastly superior alien force, had managed to hold their ground and even gain the upper hand. But the final challenge was upon them. With the alien reinforcements temporarily repelled, Earth's fleet now faced the true might of the invaders. The aliens, now desperate, had gathered their remaining ships for one last push. Their commanders knew that this battle would either make them rulers of Earth or force them to retreat in defeat. But the human fleet was not intimidated. In the command center aboard the flagship Valor, Commander Jensen gathered his senior officers. He had led humanity through this battle with unwavering determination, but this moment would be their greatest test. The alien fleet was larger now, its ships stretching out across space like a dark cloud. The commanders on the Valor reviewed their strategies, preparing for what was to come. There was no room for hesitation. The fate of Earth rested on their ability to outmaneuver and outthink their alien opponents. The human fleet had been pushed to the limit. The constant battle had drained their resources, and their ships were battered, but the crew's spirit remained unbroken. They had fought not only for survival, but for their families, their homes, and their future. This wasn't just a military operation. It was a fight for humanity's place in the universe. The alien invaders might have superior technology, but they had underestimated the strength of human resolve. Every pilot, Every engineer, every officer knew the stakes, and they were willing to push forward no matter the cost. The alien commanders, meanwhile, were growing frustrated. They had expected an easy victory, but humanity had defied all their expectations. The aliens had never encountered a species that fought with such unity and determination. It was clear that this was not a battle that could be won through sheer force. The human fleet had shown them that. Now the alien leaders faced a decision, whether to press on and risk total defeat or to pull back and regroup, leaving Earth to defend itself. But they were not willing to admit defeat just yet. As the two fleets prepared for their next clash, the commanders aboard the Valor knew that the key to victory would lie in taking control of the space surrounding Earth. The alien fleet's vast size made it slow to adapt to the humans' nimble tactics. By using the natural obstacles in space, asteroid fields, debris, and the gravitational pull of nearby planets, the human fleet could gain a tactical advantage. But the alien forces weren't going to give up without a fight. The alien ships moved forward in a coordinated attack, their massive weapons systems firing with precision. They were trying to overwhelm the human fleet with sheer force. But the humans had already anticipated this. The human warships scattered and repositioned, weaving between the obstacles in space, using the environment to shield themselves from the alien blasts. It was a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, with both sides testing each other's resolve. Each ship in the human fleet knew its role and executed its maneuvers flawlessly. They were not just soldiers. They were a team, bound together by a single purpose. On Earth, the situation was tense. Every nation had rallied behind the fleet, offering support, supplies, and resources. The global unity that had emerged in the face of this threat was unprecedented. People all over the world watched as the battle unfolded, united in their hope that the human fleet would succeed. It wasn't just a war for survival. It was a war that had brought the world together, reminding humanity of its shared strength and potential. Back in space, the human fleet's maneuvering began to wear down the alien forces. The alien ships, unable to keep up with the humans' unpredictable movements, began to make mistakes. Some ships had been damaged, their weapons systems failing. Others had become isolated from the main fleet, vulnerable to human attacks. The alien fleet was losing its cohesion, and the human commanders could feel it. The moment they had been waiting for was within their grasp. Commander Jensen gave the order to launch a full assault. The human fleet would now strike with everything they had, pushing forward with the element of surprise. The alien fleet, disorganized and spread out, found itself under attack from all sides. The human ships closed in, targeting weak spots in the alien vessels, disabling key systems. The aliens fought back, but the damage was already done. The human fleet had disrupted their formation, and now it was up to the humans to finish what they had started. As the battle raged on, the human commanders kept a close eye on the alien fleet's movements. The alien forces were trying to regroup, but it was too late. The human fleet's strategy had proven effective, and the aliens were beginning to retreat. The massive ships, once filled with confidence, were now retreating into the depths of space, their once imposing presence now reduced to a scattered, disorganized group. The tide had turned. But the human fleet didn't stop there. The commanders knew that while they had gained the upper hand, the battle was far from over. The alien forces would regroup and return. Earth would need to be ready. The commanders began preparations for a prolonged war. They had won this battle, but the war was far from finished. The alien threat had not been entirely neutralized, and humanity would need to remain vigilant. Even as the alien ships disappeared into the distance, the human fleet remained on alert. The victory was sweet, but it was also a reminder of the constant danger Earth faced. Humanity had shown that it could fight back and win, but there was always the possibility of another attack. As the human fleet turned back toward Earth, the commanders knew that the defense of their world was just beginning. The victory was a testament to humanity's resilience, but it was only one chapter in a much longer story. For now, The world could breathe a sigh of relief. But as Earth's fleet prepared for whatever came next, it was clear that humanity's spirit would never be broken. The battle had been won, but the fight for Earth's future was only just beginning. The victorious human fleet, though weary from the prolonged battle, now faced a new challenge: rebuilding and preparing for the future. The immediate threat of the alien invaders had been pushed back, but the war was not over. Earth's commanders knew that this was only one victory in a much longer conflict. There would be more battles to fight, more decisions to make. The alien forces were still out there, regrouping, and there was no telling when they would return with reinforcements or new strategies. Back on Earth, the mood was one of cautious optimism. People celebrated the fleet's success, but everyone knew that the real work was just beginning. The global community had come together like never before, united in the face of a common enemy. But now that the immediate danger had passed, there were questions that needed answers. How could humanity ensure that the aliens wouldn't come back? What steps could be taken to prevent further invasions? And most importantly, how could Earth continue to defend itself against future threats from the stars? World leaders, scientists, and military experts gathered to discuss the future. They knew that Earth could no longer rely on luck or chance. The war had shown them just how fragile their existence was in the grand scheme of the universe. The human race was not the only one out there. The alien fleet had been a reminder that there were civilizations with far greater power than humanity. But it had also shown the world that humans were capable of incredible resilience and determination. Earth had been attacked, but humanity had fought back and won. As plans for rebuilding began, Earth's leaders focused on creating a defense system that would make the planet safer. The human fleet had proven that Earth could defend itself, but they also understood that they needed to be prepared for the long term. Military alliances were formed between nations that had once been rivals. Technologies that had been developed for space exploration were now being adapted for defense. What had once been a scientific endeavor to explore the stars had now become a crucial part of Earth's security. One of the key developments in the post-war era was the creation of a unified Earth Defense Coalition. This organization brought together the best minds from every corner of the planet, pooling resources, knowledge, and technology to ensure that humanity would never again be caught off guard. The coalition's goal was simple: to create a defense system that was flexible, adaptive, and capable of countering any extraterrestrial threat. It was clear that humanity's future would no longer be confined to Earth. The universe had become a much larger, more complex place, and humanity needed to be ready. The Earth Defense Coalition began to focus on two major priorities. The first was enhancing humanity's space capabilities. The alien fleet had used advanced technology, and the human fleet had managed to hold its ground through skill, strategy, and sheer willpower. But to continue defending Earth, humans needed to advance their own technology, to understand and reverse engineer the alien ships that had been captured. Scientists worked tirelessly to unlock the secrets of alien propulsion systems, energy shields, and weaponry, hoping to use this knowledge to level the playing field. The second priority was strengthening Earth's global unity. The battle against the alien invaders had shown that humanity was capable of incredible cooperation when faced with a common enemy. The challenge now was to ensure that the world remained united, not just in times of crisis, but always. A new era of international cooperation began, one focused on shared goals, peace, and mutual defense. It was a bold vision, one that aimed to secure humanity's future, not just on Earth, but throughout the cosmos. As Earth's defense capabilities grew, so too did its confidence. The memory of the invasion would always be a part of humanity's history, but it also became a symbol of human strength and perseverance. People across the world knew that their future was uncertain, but they had learned one invaluable lesson. No matter how dark the times might get, humanity would always find a way to survive. The rebuilding process also had a deep cultural impact. The alien invasion had brought people together in a way that had never been seen before. Old divisions were set aside, and new alliances were forged. Humanity's survival depended not just on technological advances, but on a renewed sense of purpose. People began to look beyond their differences and focused on what united them: the desire to thrive, to protect their families, and to build a future that could stand the test of time.